The UFC made history on Saturday night by having their first ever event in the country of Azerbaijan in the capital city of Baku. But little did we know there would be more history to be made at the post-fight press conference where Dana White would confirm the retirement of one of, if not the greatest fighters in mixed martial arts history. Jon Jones has officially called it a career.
Jon Jones called us last night and retired. Jon Jones is officially retired. Tom Aspinall is the heavyweight champion of the UFC.
No more rumors, no more speculation, no more what-ifs. We have confirmation that the legendary Jon Bones Jones, at the age of 37, soon to be 38 in July, will no longer be competing in the UFC. He will no longer be the heavyweight champion of the world. That now belongs to the 32-year-old, absolutely on fire, Tom Aspinall from England. Jon Jones will finish his career with 28 victories with one lone defeat, and of course we know that wasn't by knockout, that wasn't by submission, that wasn't by decision. It was due to a disqualification, due to illegal elbows against Matt Hamill many moons ago, before he would go on to become the light heavyweight champion, the longest reigning in the division's history, before he would go on to defend that title numerous times en route to a record-setting 16 title fight victories in the promotion. And that is before he would take a 3-year hiatus, return up a weight class at heavyweight, defeat Ciryl Gane to become the undisputed champion, and defend it against the greatest heavyweight of all time at Madison Square Garden last November at UFC 309. Jones will also retire, having the third most wins in UFC history with 22, tied with Damian Maia, Dustin Poirier, Max Holloway, and Neil Magny, and the third longest win streak of all time at 13, tied with George St. Pierre, Demetrius Johnson, Khabib Nurmagomedov, Max Holloway, and Merab Dvalishvili. So we can't, as MMA fans, deny the greatness of Jon Jones, but at the same breath, you don't also have to say that he is the greatest of all time in your eyes, because I completely understand if he isn't. After all, it wasn't the cleanest of paths to get to greatness for Jon, as he would have numerous PED suspensions and violations inside of the UFC during his career. He would have the multitude of outside of the cage personal life hindrances as well. And the latest bit to his career during this retirement stretch was the Tom Aspinall drama that truly started in 2023 after he would beat Ciryl Gane. Tom Aspinall would come back from his knee injury and finish Marcin Tybura in July, just a few months later. And in November of 2023, we were supposed to see Jon Jones take on Stipe Miocic for their super fight, but instead it would get delayed due to a pectoral muscle injury for Jon Jones all the way until November of 2024, when the fight absolutely did not need to happen, because in November of 2023, because of that fight not taking place, Tom Aspinall stepped in on 2 weeks' notice against Sergey Pavlovich, who was going to be the backup fighter for Jones versus Miocic, and he would knock out Sergey Pavlovich in 1 minute and 9 seconds to become the interim champion of the world, meaning it was time to get the unification bout. Instead of Jon versus Stipe, it should have been Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall, who is the heavyweight champion of the world. So since November of 2023, this saga has gone on for a year and a half, essentially, at this point. Not only would we never see Jon Jones step in there against Tom Aspinall, we would see Tom Aspinall defend his interim title in July of last year, where he would finish Curtis Blaydes in 1 minute flat. And even still, after defending an interim championship, we would not see Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. We would get Jon versus Stipe at Madison Square Garden at UFC 309, where Jon would get the finish in the third round. And in August of 2024, after Tom Aspinall defended that vacant title, he even predicted this exact scenario that we are sitting here talking about today.
And he'll continue to go completely quiet about me until he retires, because there's no way on earth that he's going to fight me. Not a chance. I will retire Jon Jones without even fighting him.
And we know that he would even come to UFC events with the rubber duck in hand. He was doing everything in his ability to call for this fight with Jon Jones, to make the arguable biggest fight in heavyweight division's history happen between him and Jon. And I'll say, as much as I wanted to see this fight happen, as big of a fan as I am of Tom Aspinall, and as big of a realist as I am for the career and what he has accomplished in Jon Jones, that would have been an absolutely massive fight for the UFC, for the heavyweight division moving forward, for the legacy of Jon Jones to truly put a stamp on it and move into retirement for Tom Aspinall to potentially become the first true fighter to actually defeat Jon Jones. The storylines were endless. The legacies were on the line. The titles were on the line. It is everything that a fight fan could have asked for from a casual perspective all the way to us diehards. But we will not see it again. Jon Jones has officially retired from mixed martial arts. And Tom Aspinall, who was the interim champion with an interim title defense, has been promoted to the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. And now, what is next?
And Tom will be in Vegas all week with us, so we'll get together with him and figure out what's next.
And if we take a look at the heavyweight division, there are only so many realistic options. The leading candidate seems to be Ciryl Gane, the former interim champion, who's coming off of a win over Alexander Volkov at UFC 310 in December, although I thought he lost that fight, alongside with most of the community if I had to guess as well. We have Alexander Volkov, who is, yes, coming off of a loss to Gane, but if you make the argument that you felt that he won, and we've seen the UFC take circumstances like that and flip him in the past, he could maybe be next for Tom, but Tom's already starched him once before. Sergey Pavlovich is booked to take on Waldo Cortez Acosta in Shanghai in August, so he's out at number 4, and he's already lost to Tom. Number 5 is Curtis Blaydes, who just got knocked out against Tom last July and barely escaped defeat just this past Saturday in Baku against a debutant in Rizvan Kuniev. So if I'm being honest with you, the fight that I want to see is Tom Aspinall in the number 6 ranked Jailton Almeida. And yes, while he did lose to Curtis Blaydes last March at UFC 299, he has already bounced back with 2 stoppage wins since then, over Alexander Romanov and Sergey Spivak, both in the first round. And before the Blaydes loss, where, don't forget, he absolutely dominated the opening round of that fight with like 9 or 10 takedowns, he just wasn't able to do anything with them. And I'm not taking anything away from Curtis Blaydes, because he not only won that fight against Almeida, but he knocked him out in the second round. But before that, Almeida had also starched Derek Lewis for 25 minutes and finished Jairzinho Rozenstruik and Shamil Abdurrahimov. He's 33 years old, in his prime, 22-3 overall, with 21 of his 22 wins by way of stoppage, and he's been knocked out in 2 of his 3 losses. The guy is an all-action fighter. He just gets it done a little bit differently than someone like Tom Aspinall, which makes the fight so intriguing from an X's and O's perspective. But I will say, if we want to see the highest of mixed martial arts in athleticism and skill, then maybe Gane would be the option, although Almeida is arguably just as athletic. But Gane at one point was viewed, much like Tom Aspinall, as the 2 heads of the future of the heavyweight division, 2 of the most athletic, quick-moving, light-weighted heavyweights that we had ever seen in the way in which they approached their bouts. But the steam has really came off of Ciryl Gane after his losses to Francis Ngannou and Jon Jones. And it doesn't help him that he arguably lost to Alexander Volkov 7 months ago as well. So I want to hear from you all down in the comments below on a multitude of things. First and foremost, what do you make of Jon Jones and his retirement being announced in the UFC post-fight press conference of Baku, Azerbaijan by Dana White? Has all of the drama surrounding Jon Jones' career, from the violations to the outside of the cage stuff to this saga with Tom Aspinall for the last year plus, hindered his legacy in your eyes? And does that not make him the GOAT? Does it push him way down the totem pole? Does it not matter to you and he is absolutely still the number 1 fighter of all time? And what do you make of Tom Aspinall being promoted to the true undisputed heavyweight champion of the UFC? And who do you think he will face in his first true defense of the title, even though it is technically going to be his second defense? Will it be Ciryl Gane? Will it be Alexander Volkov? Will it be Jailton Almeida? Or will it be someone out of left field like an Alex Poatan Pereira? Yes, I've seen people throw that name around as well. I want to hear all of your thoughts on all of those questions down below. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. We are continuing to chase the goal of reaching 1,000 subscribers before the end of 2025, and any and all support is greatly appreciated. Alongside my thoughts and opinions on MMA news such as this, I also preview and discuss the biggest fights heading into each card, not only from an X's and O's perspective, but more importantly to me, the storylines and what is at stake for the fighters. And in the aftermath of every card, I recap the most meaningful results. You can also join the discussion and the community on social media at Verbal Spar MMA on X, Instagram, TikTok, and like the Facebook page Verbal Sparring MMA. And if you enjoy podcast episodes, you can follow along on Spotify, Apple, and more. Have a great week, and I will see you all in the next video.